Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Vincent Pizzulli, attorney to the board. To his left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the planning department. You are all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you are requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide us with precise, accurate information so we as a board can make a decision based on the facts that you present here tonight. We as a board must consider the 5 following conditions. They're listed here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other means. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulties are self-created. Procedures for tonight's hearing. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings and mailings to Mr. Donadio. Then you will be asked to go to the podium where you state your name and address for the record and proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can come back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 3 ways to find out about your case. You can stay after the hearing, but there's no guarantee that your case will be acted on tonight. You can call the planning office tomorrow, or you can wait and be notified by mail. We do have 3 adjournments tonight. The first adjournment is case 18253, Bernard Wankowski. That has been adjourned to January 14th. The next case adjourned is case 1-18224, White Glove Auto Spa, Inc.
Vincent Tremarco, 1038 West Jericho Turnpike, Smithtown, New York. We do agree with the, we request the adjournment in any event because we have to advertise for an additional variance for a canopy. We do object to the letter sent in by the planning department, which asks the planning board, the BZA, not to hear the car wash part of the case because another operator who also rents space on the property runs the gas station and convenience store, and to date he hasn't put in a curb cut, which he disagrees with the state as to eliminating one curb cut. So we feel that we shouldn't be deprived from putting in our case, which has nothing to do with the other case. In fact, the car wash is all the way on one side. The operator of the convenience store gas station is on the other side of the property, and one really has nothing to do with the other. And it's kind of a standoff because I don't know whether they'll ever make a decision on that curb cut, but we still need to get approvals from this board. So I ask you to consider that as, we shouldn't really be punished because someone else has decided to, I don't know, fight it. I don't know what he's going to do at this point. But I believe that's the position of the planning department, which to me doesn't make sense.
Again, case 1-18220, White Glove Auto Spa, Inc., has been adjourned to January 28th. And the last case that's adjourned is case 18136, CNS Builders, Inc. That also has been adjourned to January 28th.
Chairman, there's one more case on the calendar that's requesting an adjournment, 18252. Did you see the request in your packet? It's a letter dated November 8th from Dunright Pools. Want to pass that down?
That wasn't a month back.
There is a notation on the calendar that says request adjournment.
All right. We have another adjournment, which is case 18252. That'll be adjourned. We don't have this calendar going into February, do we?
Tell you really quick. It looks like February 11th.
Okay. That case has been adjourned to February 11th. Any others that we know?
I think we're good.
Okay. Good to go.
The first case on the agenda is case number 18247, Carter's Oshkosh, 120 Veterans Memorial Highway in Comac. The location of the property, the south side of Veterans Memorial Highway, 813 feet west of Comac Road. The property is owned SCB. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum area of a wall sign from 58 square feet to 147 square feet, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet, bless you, to 24 feet.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Melanie Lacey, Sir Tillman Ballin, 100 Motor Parkway, Hauppauge, New York, on behalf of the applicant Display Makers, Inc. This evening, Display Makers is seeking two variances to advertise a wall sign for a wall sign to advertise Carter's Oshkosh in Comac, New York, with the address specifically being 120 Veterans Memorial Highway. As you can see in the papers that I distributed, I just want to bring to your attention on the last page the orientation of the property, which sort of justifies why we need these variances. As you can see, there are approximately 4 pad sites along Veterans Memorial. Those are 4 detached buildings, and Carter's will be located in the strip mall, which is farther back, about 500 feet set back from the highway, from Veterans Highway. If you were to count the parking stalls, there's approximately 50 parking stalls separating that larger commercial building from the street. And that, like I said, justifies the dimensions of the sign and the height that we're proposing. As you can also see in the photographs, the existing signage on the property is pretty large, and the sign that we're proposing is consistent with the existing signs. All of them are approximately the same level, so it wouldn't be any higher than the signs that are already there. But I will cite 3 recent cases that were granted, which serve as precedent for our requests this evening. On May 4th, 2017, under case 17757 for Hobby Lobby, the BZA granted a variance for 274 square feet illuminated sign. On December 3rd, 2018, under case number 118119 for Burlington, the BZA granted a variance for 405 square feet for illuminated sign. And on February 5th, 2019, under case number 18132 for Whole Foods, BZA granted a variance for 441 square foot illuminated sign. Like I said, all of them are approximately the same level, so it would also be around the height of 24 feet, which is what we're requesting this evening. And as mentioned, we're requesting 147 square feet, where 58 is permitted. As for the BZA factors, I'll run through very quickly. The first factor, the surrounding structures are commercial buildings. There are no residential properties within the immediate vicinity, and many of these stores have signs that are similar in height and size or area to what we're proposing. Second, it is important to have the height and area that we're proposing, given the distance from Veterans Memorial Highway. Like I said, this is the building that is set back behind these other pad sites that are immediately along the road frontage. Third, the variance is not substantial when compared to the recent variances that were granted for those other stores. And fifth, while the need is self-created, the request is consistent with the manner in which the neighboring businesses are advertising their businesses. So we would propose that it is appropriate. I'm happy to answer your questions if you have anything beyond what I've described.
Fine, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thanks.
No? Planning?
No, thank you.
No? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second. Move to second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 18248, Ray and Najra Yip, 3 Avery Place, Smithtown, the location of the property, the northwest corner of Avery Place and Grassy Pond Drive. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard on Avery Place from 10 feet to 0 for a proposed 6-foot fence. Thank you. Board?
Okay, we can see it. There. Yeah. Yeah, it's you.
I know, but I don't know,
Okay.
like, who should I show these pictures to?
Yeah, all right, just,
These are like, our
Okay.
neighbors, so I'm not trying to explain.
okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening, board
You-
members.
you can move that down.
I'm Naja Yip. I reside at 3 Everly Place, Smithtown, New York, and we're trying to put up a 6-foot fence at the property, and I know that for the town of Smithtown, we have to push in order for the 6-foot fence to be built, we have to move it back to like,
Excuse, Mr. Tramarko. Thank you.
yeah, we have to move the fence from the property line 10 foot back. But we do have a difficulty, if you look at the picture I try to show you, is that where the 10 foot is, we have tree lines there. So we're trying to save some trees, and because of the property, we already cut down a lot of trees, so there's no more for us to, we like to save those trees. And then, for the privacy reasons, 6 foot rather than a 4 foot, because we're at a corner property. So that's our case. So one of the pictures that are, that's in a little brownish color, that I took that picture, I measured it with the tape. The first stake on the left side is actually about where the property line is, and then 10 foot in is where the second garden stake is. And that's where the trees are. Like, you can see the first tree, it's laying on the first tree, and then in the back, further down, like 40 or 50 feet from that tree, there's a group of 4 trees there. So, that's where the 10 feet away.
Right. We visited your house today,
Oh, you did? Okay.
and those trees are set back substantially.
They're
on the
actually
property
where
line.
the 10 foot from the property line is.
Yeah, a little more than 10 feet.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the 4 trees are actually more than 10 feet.
We would like to
Oh,
get the.
one second.
Okay, sorry.
If you want to talk, can you
Oh,
just
he's my
introduce-
husband. That's
Just
Ray.
introduce yourself.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Ray Yip. I live at 3 Avery Place, Smithtown, New York. 11787 is my wife.
Yes.
Okay, there's more space over there, but we need to put the fences like before the tree, like outside, you
Right.
know, in front of the tree. If we want to move in, then we're gonna have to cut down those trees, or move further down. Then there's no reason to fence.
Right.
And we have 4 kids, and we have in the back, we have no backyard basically. So besides privacy, we also want to be safety for the kids to run around, and we also adopted a new dog, a pet. So yeah, that's the reason we wanted to fence. We lived there for a while since 2011, but you know we've been trying to fence it. Now I guess it's time to fence it. The kids running around is a little dangerous.
No, it's understandable.
Yeah.
But I think you do have sufficient room along Averly, you know, to move it back so it's not on the property line.
Oh yeah. We're not gonna be on your property line.
Yeah.
We're gonna be away from your property line. It's just like maybe a foot away from your property line. You know, but I guess according to the code, we have to move 10 feet in, right?
Right. If you
And-
moved it 10 feet in, you'd still be in front.
No.
No.
I showed
No.
you the picture right there. The
No.
10 feet is actually where the tree, the first big tree is. And then the 4 trees behind that one,
Yeah.
it's where the group of 4 trees, those are actually like maybe another 4 feet from the, like, 14
Yeah.
feet away from the property line. So,
Just the two, you're talking about the 2 trees?
No, actually it's more than 2 trees. A lot of.
it's 4.
No, I'm not talking about the side yard. I'm
Yeah,
talk-
the
I'm
front.
talking about just in the front there.
Right, on
the
that
front, yeah.
front.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Yeah.
Wait, the front on,
No, this side
on
this
that side, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The yellow side of
Just-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in the front there.
Right, those,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. The 10 foot in is actually where the trees are.
Yeah.
So we'll have to move them like less than 10 foot so that they don't, the fans don't, have to be built on that.
As long as we
trees.
can fence before the tree, that's
And
fine.
then you're fine.
Yeah, we don't want to
Sure.
cut down the trees. We just cut down a bunch of them, and we want to save those trees for the.
Yeah, we don't want you to cut down any trees.
No, we don't want to cut. Those are nice
Okay.
trees.
All right. Anyone on the board have any questions?
Tony wants to see the pictures.
Those are extra pictures from our neighborhood. Those are like the corner properties. People
Mm-hmm.
are just like, less than, 10 foot in from their property. We're in the same zone, so I mean, I know you probably can't compare them both, but I just want to show you that there are plenty of houses that are, less than, 10 foot in
We
from.
looked just in the immediate vicinity, and we didn't really see any fences. Some of
2
those,
blocks,
I guess, are
yeah,
taken
about-
down further. But again, you don't know if those people came in and got variances.
Yeah.
So you're
Right, that's what we try to,
Sorry.
get.
The first stake you put in is 10 feet from the curb, and the second,
No, the
stake?
first one is about 13 feet from the curb. The second one is 10 feet from the first stake. That's-
okay, and the property line is 10 feet from the curb, correct?
Right.
Yeah. The property line is about 13. That's why I put the first stake. Is it 10?
Survey doesn't say.
Maybe wrong with the survey. Maybe only 10 feet.
Usually the right-of-way is 10. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Planning? Any questions?
Just one question. Do you know approximately how far away from where you think your property line is, the trees are set back? 4 feet, 5 feet, 6
About
feet?
10 feet, that's what the second stake is.
It's about 10 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, so they could go a little less than that? Yeah.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18249, Keith Barbone, 20 Joseph Place, Smithtown. Wisconsin. The location of the property is the west side of Joseph Place, 320 feet south of Smithtown Boulevard. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting variances to decrease the distance from rear lot lines from 8 feet to 3 feet and 8 feet to 2 feet for an existing 102-square-foot shed. Reduce the minimum rear yard from 60 feet to 35 feet for a 598-square-foot existing first-floor addition. Reduce the front yard from 45 feet to 37 feet for a covered porch. Increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the side yard from 25% to 100%, which is existing. Increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the rear yard from 25% to approximately 80%, which is existing. Reduce the minimum distance of paving from side and rear property lines from 1 foot to 0, and increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to approximately 45%, which is existing.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. The first variance requested is for an existing woodshed and sideline from 8 feet to 2 feet and from 8 feet to 3 feet. You can see it on the board there. It's colored in yellow and actually really has no adverse effect on any neighbors. The second variance is to reduce the minimum rear yard from 60 to 35 feet for an existing first floor addition. What they're really talking about, or what we're trying to make clear, is it's a little breezeway that was built between the house and the garage, and that's the 35-foot setback. As you can see, if Blaze, you could go back to the survey, you can see that the garage was existing for many years. So it's just that little breezeway connection that causes us to come in and ask for that 35-foot variance. The gravel. The definition of a paved surface, this is kind of something that's been around for a long time. I know maybe the environmental department looks at it as paved surface, but gravel is very porous, especially the type of gravel that's been laid around the yard here. It doesn't have any what they call chinking effect, where they bind together and become impervious. So it's just another form of landscaping, and it just so happens that it's considered to be a paved surface when it really isn't. The other thing that I wanted to bring to the board's attention is the last request reduced the distance of the paving from the side and rear property lines. On that north property line, again, if you could go to the survey, please, you see there's a fence, and then, of course, the yellow shed. All along that side yard, it's really about 2 to 3 feet away before the gravel even starts. However, we are asking for that variance in the rear yard, but we really don't need it in the side yard. So again, this is a gravel for landscaping purposes. It's got nothing to do with paving. We don't drive cars on it. The driveway is made out of, I believe, asphalt or concrete. It's a concrete driveway, and that's paved, and obviously we're not looking for a variance for the concrete driveway, but we are for this type of landscaping or decoration. We don't think that it will produce a change in the character of the area. You can see the house, it's a very nice-looking house. Can the applicant achieve this by some other feasible method? Well, I guess you could say we could, pull up all of that gravel, but to what purpose? It's either gravel or maybe grass. It's not something that's prohibited by the town. The fact that you use gravel instead of paving, I'm sorry, instead of grass or ivy or some such other landscaping use. Whether the requested area variance is substantial. Well, if you look at it, it looks like it's a big deal, but again, these pavings, it's not asphalt, it's not concrete, it's not even brick or paving stones or patio blocks. It's plain old, ordinary gravel. So again, we don't think the request is substantial, given the fact of what it is. I think one of the reasons why the ordinance reads the way it does is because they're concerned about drainage. Well, water goes right through this. This has nothing to do with having a paved surface around your property and all the water draining off to some other person's property. Can the variance, can we achieve it by some other method, and the physical or environmental conditions? Do they affect them? No, because the water drains through, just like if it were grass or plantings. Whether the difficulty was self-created, yeah, we did put down the paving, not the paving, excuse me, the stones. Again, I think it's an issue that really shouldn't concern the board because it has no adverse effect on the character of the area, no environmental effect, and it's just a question of how you define what paving is. So if the board has any questions.
Yes. The only concrete is in the driveway. The side is gravel.
Yes,
Does the gravel extend into the backyard
yes.
all the way, or?
Well, it goes for about, I would say, Blaze? Probably, well, you can see the lines. It's probably even with the house
Okay.
and going back. Not all the way. The rest of the side yard appears to be clear.
All right. And again, just for the record, that's all gravel.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the board have any questions? Planning?
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Do you have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next application on the agenda, case number 18250, Donald Arnone, 10 Cleveland Street, Nesconset, the location of the property, the west side of Cleveland Street, 235 feet south of Smithtown Boulevard. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard from 35 feet to 29 feet for an existing 461-square-foot balcony.
Good evening, board members. My name is
evening.
Don Arnone, 10 Cleveland Street, Wisconsin, New York. I'm here for a variance to reduce my rear yard from 35 feet to 29 feet for an existing balcony. The balcony is consistent with the area, with other balconies and decks in the area. There's no environmental impact on the balcony that is existing. And if you have any questions, please,
I'll ask.
okay?
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No question.
Lanny?
No, thanks.
No, thank you.
No? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18251, 415 Oser Avenue. The location of the property, the southeast corner of Oser Avenue and Parkway Drive South in Hauppauge. The property is zoned LI. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum parking spaces from 1,167 to 676 for the conversion of 5,000 square feet of warehouse to gym.
Good evening.
Members of the board, good evening. My name is Howard Vingan, 1 Executive Drive, Edgewood, New York. I'm the attorney for the applicants, 415 Oser Avenue LLC and 425 Oser Avenue LLC. The applicants are owned by Mr. Gerald Walkoff, who's here with me tonight. And also here is Mr. Joe DeSimone, who's the president of Lacrosse Unlimited, whose tenancy has necessitated this variance request. Our application to this board is for a variance of section 322, subsection 59 of the Building Zone Ordinance to reduce the amount of required parking for the buildings 415 and 425 Oser Avenue to 676 from 1,167 parking required by the ordinance in connection with the change of use for a 5,000 square foot unit to gym from warehouse. Our application to the building department for an interior alterations permit for the subject premises was denied. According to parking calculations in the code, the property does not contain sufficient parking. Although the classification for the use is gym, the use is not a gym like the franchise gyms such as Retro Fitness, LA Fitness, or Planet Fitness that is open from early in the morning to late at night, where patrons drive alone and who stay and park cars for a long period of time, occupying parking spaces. In this 5,000 square foot unit, Mr. DeSimone proposes to teach lacrosse for travel lacrosse teams. Mr. DeSimone will be using the premises on weekdays after 4:30 p.m. and on the weekends. The students are ages 10 to 15 who will be dropped off, so there will be very limited use of parking spaces. The way the school operates, there will be no more than 12 students at the premises at any one time, and the sessions usually last for about an hour. By the code, the proposed change of the use from warehouse to gym requires parking for 1 car for every 150 square feet of space, or 33 spaces for this 5,000 square foot unit. Mr. DeSimone's business will never use more than 12 parking spaces. In 2016, the current applicants appeared before this board with a request to reduce the required parking on site to 676 parking spaces based upon change in use of a 7,500 square foot unit to office space from warehouse for the New York Office of Developmental Disabilities. The board granted that request, and since 2016, the tenant mix has remained the same, and even with the additional office space occupied by New York State, there is ample parking on site, and there are no parking problems. The current application for the reduction to 676 spaces is consistent with the prior variance granted by this board in 2016. The change of use for this 5,000 square foot unit will not cause parking issues. 676 parking spaces exist on site. Sufficient parking exists on site. The people who work at these buildings do not park on the public roadways surrounding the site. Since these buildings were built 33 years ago, there has never been a parking problem on site, and the applicants have never received any notices or violations from the town of Smithtown that there were parking problems on site. The benefit of approving this application is to allow for the use of the space as a lacrosse school to improve athletic skills and keep these teens engaged in healthy activity outweighs any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. At this time, these teens are being harmed by having no place to practice after school since it is too cold and too dark to practice outside. The granting of this parking variance will not have any detrimental effects to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community. The site is located in an industrial park and has been developed for warehouse office use for the last 33 years with no parking problems. There is currently sufficient parking on site for these uses. No parking occurs on the public roadways. The proposed interior alterations will not change the neighborhood or community in any way. The proposed interior alterations will not have any effect on nearby property since the parking for the use can be accommodated on site. The requested reduction in parking is not substantial as sufficient parking exists on site. Based upon the current tenants in these buildings, the actual number of required parking spaces is well below the code-required calculation of 1,167. Since the building has been used for the last 33 years for warehouse office uses, and these uses will not change if the variance is granted, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. For all of the foregoing reasons, we respectfully request that this board approve our request for the variance to reduce the number of required parking to allow for the new tenancy. Thank you.
Again, just for the record, this is not open to the public. This is for Mr. DeSimone's lacrosse teams. That's it. Okay. We were at the site today, and, we rode by. Sufficient spots around 11 o'clock over in that area already, so. You'd have to come up to the mic, Mr. Wyckoff.
Mr. DeSimone lives in
Could you
Smithtown.
just introduce yourself so we get your
Oh,
name on
Jerry
the record?
Wolkoff from Heartland Business Center.
Thank you.
I've been here over 50 years developing the site. Never had any issues on parking. I'm very concerned who comes into my park. So over the years, we've always kept it in good shape and never had any problem with parking. I wouldn't accept anyone that would give me or the town any problem with parking. Mr. DeSimone has been a resident here for how many years?
30 years.
For 30 years in Smithtown, and he's a well-respected lacrosse, and I believe he has something in the town of Smithtown also.
Store on Route 111 in
Can you
Smithtown.
just introduce yourself?
Sure.
So we get,
Joe DeSimone. I have I live in Smithtown for 30 years. We have a business located in Smithtown. It was originally in Hauppauge, which we just moved to Smithtown on Route 111. That is existing for 30 years now.
Lacrosse Unlimited.
Yeah, Lacrosse Unlimited.
It's important that we get a decision because we have young children that just, they're so anxious to come in and learn in the lacrosse. And it was supposed to get started in October,
and
so
it's getting cold
unfortunately.
outside.
Yeah, certainly is.
So we'd appreciate if we can get a fast response so Mr. DeSimone can start teaching these children immediately.
All right. Anyone else on the board have any questions?
No, no.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Excuse me. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much, thank you.
You want me to get that in?
The next application on the agenda is case number 18254, Imam LLC, 60 Narcissus Road, Kings Park. The location of the property, the northwest corner of Narcissus Road and Birch Road. The property is zoned
Excuse me,
R10.
please, I think, did we pass one?
I think there's two that are adjourned. 1825,
Oh, 5-2?
yep,
Okay.
And 5-3.
sorry. So, the property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered where depth of groundwater is equal to or less than 10 feet for proposed regrading.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. As the variance indicates, the property is in environmentally sensitive land in that depth of groundwater is way less than 10 feet. In some areas, it's probably 3 or 4 feet. So there is a serious water problem. In order to correct that water problem, we have applied to the building department and the town engineering department. But a prerequisite of them giving us the permit, we have to come to this board because we're dealing with environmentally sensitive land. So if the board sees fit to granting us the variance, then we can take the next step. And in conjunction with and under the control of the town departments, we will then perform a regrading that would help the whole area in the sense that because of the high water table and because of the way the drainage is set up now, it appears to be a serious problem with the issue of water draining off the property. So again, in order to get this done and fix it, we first have to come to you and then finish with our applications for the building department and the engineering department. So nothing will be done unless and until the building department and the engineering department approves our plans for regrading. But again, we need to come to you first in order to allow us to perform the regrading. Engineering has requested and in fact told us you have to come to the board first, so here we are. All the applications are in with the building and planning department. We've also made an application to the state DEC and to our own LWRP. So everything is in. You're the next step. After you, we still need the town to give their stamp of approval. We will then conduct a regrading under the control of the engineering department and the building department. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, we were at the site this morning. It looks like that existing house sits in a gully. Now, when you regrade, bringing everything up?
That depends on how the engineering department tells us to do it. The town engineering department has our plans, has our elevations, they have everything. So I think, and again, I'm certainly not an expert, but I think the way they are going to tell us to do it is to make some sort of a swale in the property, because as you said, the house is low. That's the way it was built.
Is that house going to stay there
Yes,
and be rehabbed?
yes.
Okay. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thanks.
Planning?
A few comments for you, Mr. Chairman. I believe somewhere on the survey or the plot plan, there is test hole information, and if you look at it, if I'm not mistaken, the results say that the groundwater is 0.2 feet from the surface, which is 3 or 4 inches, roughly, doing the math. So there's an issue, number one, with extremely high groundwater. The second thing is that in order to construct anything on that land, the amount of regrading or the amount of fill that would need to be brought in would be substantial. Third item is that, although I certainly can't say this as a fact, it appears on the surface that the application would not be consistent with the LWRP determination. And the fourth item is that the applicant would need DEC approval and Health Department approval for sanitary systems.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up one at a time, please. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you state your name, spell your last name, and give me the address for the record, please?
Yes, Matthew Long, Long, 103 Orchid Drive, Kings Park, New York.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. This property is located in the River Corps, adjoining a town park. In the 1970s, the town wanted...
Excuse me, could you read a little slower?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, okay. This property is located in the River Corps, adjoining a town park. In the 1970s, the town wanted to condemn the part of the property due to the water problem and make it part of the town park. The homeowner stated that he needed the property for his leaching field for his septic system. The town allowed him to keep it. I understand that he is looking for a variance to regrade to 10 feet above water level. According to the town, the water is at current grade. So if he adds 10 feet to the current grade, the house and the neighboring houses will be below grade. It would produce an impact on the adjoining properties because the new grade would change the water flow and the drainage of the property, which would force the water onto the adjoining properties as well as into the park. This request is substantial because they are asking to add 10 feet of fill to a large portion of the property. They already added 160 to 200 yards of fill, and it's already began to cause problems for the neighboring properties. One of the problems was caused by the current owner when he installed a permanent underground pipe in order to pump the continuous flow of water from his basement into the park. He destroyed the existing septic system, which was the leaching field. I spoke to the DEC this morning with a request to a request to regrade the environmentally sensitive property has not been submitted at this time. The guy I spoke to was Kevin Jennings. He had handed me his card when he was on the property. Last week when I was in the town planning department, and in addition to the existing houses and its septic system, there are plans for this property to be subdivided, and 2 more houses as well as 2 more septic systems are to be added to the sensitive property. I find this is setting a bad precedence for adapting environmentally sensitive properties for different building purposes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Take care.
I think there was some, come on up, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is
Evening.
Annie Capra. I live at 47 Narcissus Road.
Could you spell your last name, Annie, please?
Sure. It's Capra.
Thank you.
Matt put it very eloquently, but the concern, I've lived there for many, many years, and I knew the previous owner. The house was continually filled with water, the basement. If you walk in, I know that you said that you went over there and took a ride by, so you could probably see that it's a marsh. It's wet wherever you walk. The thought that there would be 2 additional houses or septic or 10 feet of fill that would drain off where, the current owner, I know, is trying to, fix the house and maximize his investment. The problem is that if he were to do so, it would have a significant impact on the adjacent properties as well as the behind there, which is the pond, the Nesquag River. For years, many of us in the community have been very concerned about this property, and we have called and tried to get help in terms of making sure that those impacts would not happen from anybody who purchased the property. Since the current owner has purchased the property, holes have been dug. They've remained open for children or animals to fall in. Fill was added, I believe without permits, to which caused problems for the adjacent neighbors. The property has remained in disrepair without being cleaned up or, any regard. So the variance is terribly concerning for so many reasons, but mainly, how would this impact the environment as well as the neighbors? That property should have been taken over, I believe, when the other properties adjacent to it were. There was a reason that the town saw fit to do it many years ago, so I would ask that that would be a consideration in terms of the property. I feel like we live in such a beautiful community, and it's really time, for us all to kind of protect that community and the environment around it and the neighbors. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Is there anyone else like to be heard on this application? Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Lori Jackson. I live at 41 Narcissus.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Jackson.
Thank you.
And I just want to say that Matthew and Annie so eloquently spoke and basically stated everything, but my concerns are the same. I'm concerned about the water issues. I'm concerned about flooding of other properties surrounding it. I'm concerned about health issues, to such drastic changes in the area and the natural setting. And I have concerns that the house was flooded and remained flooded since Superstorm Sandy. That was a very long time. And again, I had concerns about the holes that were dug, literally filled with water, because as that gentleman pointed out, it's like 2 or 4 inches below ground level, and a deep hole was dug and it was left open. Numerous calls and complaints, and finally they put up some plastic fencing which fell down and has recently been fixed, but it's really a huge safety concern, and the property's overgrown with tall grass, and I fear that a young child, toddler, or kid will somehow fall in there and be hurt. And I just have concerns about the environmental sensitivity of the area and the changes that are going to be taking place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? No one else? Good evening.
John Fitzgerald, Fitzgerald. I'm at 361 Birch, which is right down the road from the property. This issue here, I mean, there's a huge presence from our local community, which is excellent. I think we all have the same concerns. We all have the same issues where I would love to see that land look beautiful and nice again, or even if there was a house, that it would be beautiful and nice again. But if they do that, are they disturbing our houses, our groundwater, we moved our bus stop, and we actually had some issues with it, but our bus stop was in front of this property. We elected to not use it anymore. So we actually go to a different bus stop with our young kids because of the condition of this property. So I guess my concern and question is, if nothing can happen with it, could this somehow be returned to town property? If the variance wasn't allowed in them to make a house or 3 houses, what happens after that? Does it just stay with a rotting house on the ground? Does it just continue to be in disarray? Does somebody take, action to make it beautiful again? Does the house get leveled? Does it, be returned to like a parkland? Or if nothing happens, does it just rot, and, nothing happens with the land? So that's my concern.
All right,
Thank you.
Anyone else? Everybody gets one turn. Is there anyone else?
Mr. Tamar, my name is Ijaz Bukhari, and I am from IMM LLC. I'm the current owner of the...
Could you just spell your name for the record, please?
Ijaz Bukhari, I-J-A-Z. Last name is Bukhari, B-O-K-H-A-R-I. And I'm a resident of Smithtown, and I currently own the house that is subject to our neighbors' issues. The objective over here is that to somehow This house was an eyesore, as my neighbors would testify, that it was under a lot of wetland around here because the way that the road structure was made or whatever it is. This house has been there since 1947, and I'm trying to secure the same house. I'm not trying to build a new house there. I'm not building a new building over there or changing this thing. So the whole idea was that, you know, that if I can restore that house, make that house actually the whole development a nice one. My neighbors made a complaint that there's a pothole over there. I am very, very concerned about that because there's a stop order from the court. The neighbor next to me has taken this to court and had a show cause notice of stop order. I'm not allowed to do any work on the premises. That's what Mr. DeMarco is fighting to get so that we can continue the work and stop that. That the fence that I'm actually, this is one of the reasons we want to take to court because it's a security issue. Because there was a cesspool that was being built to put into it when the stop order came, and I'm not allowed to touch that land. And that is why, otherwise, the whole house, the idea is to make it renovated. The whole place would look beautiful. We're not making, this is a minor regrading. It's not putting like a 10-foot high. Somebody told me that we're going to raise the ground 10 feet. That's not true. So it is pretty much going to be facilitating the current flow. And everything is being done under the auspices of the engineering department. DEC has been there. A gentleman said that there was no application made to DEC. That is not true. In fact, Mr. DeMarco's office made the application to DEC. So Department of Environmental DEC will be involved and make sure that there is nothing that is done on this property that is going to be against any of the standards that have been established by the DEC or Town of Smithtown or Engineering Department. And I appeal to my neighbors that what I want to do is actually trying to, the eyesore that it was before, that we want to convert it into a beautiful looking house and actually is something that actually will be, and there's no planning of building another house on that premise that we're talking about, the 60 Narcissus Road.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Bob Capra. I'm at 47 Narcissus Road, a neighbor.
Bob, can you spell your last name for the record?
Yes, Capra, C-A-P-R-A.
Thank you.
I just, heard the gentleman speak who was the owner of the property. I guess first off, the concerns I have are, up to this point in time, I don't see that he's actually complied with a lot of the things that were probably required as far as, getting a work stop order. There's a reason he was submitted a work stop order, because he's violating not submitting to the plans and following the rules. I can't expect he's going to potentially follow the rules going forward, but that's to be seen. Secondly, I am in an area that is so sensitive with that water. Again, I live right across the street from that property. My water table's not like that, but it's very sensitive. My major concerns are, as other people have expressed, any elevation to that property in terms of fill is going to cause these underground springs to divert into different places, which has probably happened. We have at the end of that Birch Street now, it's a constant water pushing up through the street, eroding the road constantly because of all the underground springs there. But again, my concerns are, I'm not convinced the builder up to this point has kept up with what the requirements are, and he's suggesting something different now. I'm very concerned that any fill and things changing the environment are going to severely impact my property. When that becomes the case, and I'm convinced it may become the case, who's liable for my problem now? That's my concern here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Good evening.
My name is Paul Daly. I live on 10 Narcissus. Daly, D-A-L-Y.
Thank you.
I'm at the bottom of the hill. Narcissus rolls down. I have a French drain in my basement because the water table is so high. The streams are constantly changing. They changed again over the last couple of months, maybe because of what was done up there, maybe not. I have to have the basement dug out again, another pipe already put in. Nothing up top was done correctly. The water table just keeps on coming up. Anything that's done up there is just going to create more of a flood coming down. There's not really anything you can do. A house will not stand up there, and nothing was done correctly up there so far as it was.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Is there anyone else? Once I bring Mr. Tramarko back, no one else is going to be allowed to speak, so is there anyone else? No? Mr. Tramarko?
As my client indicated, we're not unmindful of the neighbors' concerns. The only way we can make this better is if we do whatever the engineering department tells us to do. We're not going in there, and whatever the past is, it's over now. My client indicated that there's a lawsuit pending, there's a judge's order, and we are asking this board to grant us the variance to go in there and fix or try and fix the problem. We're not going to figure out what the solution is. The engineering department is, along with the building department, along with the LWRP, all of these agencies, and the state DEC. So, given the fact that all of these agencies are going to have oversight, whatever we try and do will have to be in accordance with that permit. It's really a technicality that we're coming to this board because we have a high water table. I mean, even if it was 5 inches, 4 inches below the surface, does it really matter? There's a house there. We have to fix the problem. Nobody, the town hasn't come to us and said, okay, we'll buy the property. So we have to fix it and fix it right. There'll be oversight. The neighbors can go to the engineering department and say, okay, how are you going to fix this? How are you going to make this developer do it in a fashion that's not going to affect the neighbors? If we just sit back and do nothing, nothing gets done, the house gets more deteriorated. So I think this is the best solution to a serious problem. You heard my client. He understands that it's a serious situation, and he wants to fix it. So we've done all the right things. The other thing is, this is only an application to fix or grade the property, regrade the property. There's no application for any other houses. You can see on the survey there are other lots, but that's a different issue. We haven't made any applications for that. If we did, this board would have to approve them, and we would be going through the same thing. So it's not an automatic thing. All we want to do is regrade the property and ask this board to let us do that. And we will cooperate with the neighbors. Whatever we did in the past is in the past. Now we have to do it right. So please, give us the go-ahead. The engineering department has all the plans. If any of the neighbors want to see what we've done, we can give them copies, or they...
Please.
Excuse me?
Please, no calling out from the audience. We need to get everything on the record.
I know everybody's upset, and it's their property, and they have a right to be concerned. We're just trying to fix it. So help us, board, to fix it. You're the first step. Thank you.
Thank you. And there'll be no decision tonight. We don't have a SEQA or LWRP. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Steve, did I give you some of my papers with that?
Don't give away your agenda.
Doing nothing is not an option.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18255, Fanny Diaz, 6 Timber Lane, Fort Salonga, the location of the property, the south side of Timber Lane, 152 feet east of Bread and Cheese Hollow Road. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard from 60 feet to 54 feet for a proposed 66-square-foot front porch, to reduce the minimum side yard from 24 feet to 23 feet for a proposed 48-square-foot, two-story addition.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Gleason, architect. I represent Fanny Diaz. I'm at 336 6th Avenue, St. James. Fanny Diaz and her husband, Jose Martinez, has bought this property. It was a foreclosure, kind of like an eyesore in the neighborhood, still kind of is, but permits have been issued from the building department for a fairly large addition, renovation with a cabana, upgrade the pool. It's going to be a very nice addition to the neighborhood. Very nice homes on that street on Timber Lane in Fort Salonga, and it really will fit right in. What we're here for is front porch and a side yard addition, as you can see on the screen here, that we have highlighted where this two-story cantilevered addition is going to be, with the triple windows on the first floor and second floor. It's really aesthetically valuable to the whole addition renovation of the house. We are allowed to have, according to the code, 2-foot overhang encroaching into the side yard, but the width that the town ordinance allows is 6 foot. We're asking for 11 feet. So that throws us into a setback situation on the side yard. On the front yard, we're asking for a larger porch. As you can see, we're going to build a nice portico that fits in with the renovation of the house. And again, I really don't think it's a substantial decrease on the front yard on the whole property. Does the board have any questions?
I will ask. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No.
No. Planning?
No, thank you.
No. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18256, Anthony Schiano, 399 Core Road, Kings Park, the location of the property, the northeast corner of Core Road and Cedar Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard from 40 feet to 38 feet for an existing 147-square-foot front porch.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Schiano. The address is 399 Core Road in Kings Park. And I am requesting a minimum setback change from 40 feet to 38 feet for a porch. I mean, I don't know if you have, I have photos of the property. I don't know if you're going to pull those up. I had given them to, there they go. So, no, that's good. The issues that I had when I purchased the house, the front has a, yep, perfect. Very poor grading in the front to make the front yard a little more useful. I wanted to put a porch on there. The existing steps that were there were deteriorated, broken up, and they actually led toward the hill. So my idea was to put the porch on, put a railing in the front to lead everybody over to the driveway so that, God forbid, someone comes out of the house and you're not going to stop till you hit Core Road, which is about 30 feet below. And the setback, actually, when I constructed it, I measured from the road mistakenly instead of looking at the survey. I'm 65 feet from the road. That particular piece of property has a 28-foot municipal setback, I guess, what you want to call it, rather than the normal standard 10 or 15 feet, which is why I'm in the situation, because that porch and that deck is still 63 feet from the road. That's pretty much it. I mean, it doesn't block anybody's view. The house, as you can see, is probably 20 or 30 feet higher than Core Road to begin with. It's pretty common to the area. Most houses along Core Road have some kind of a front porch, and like I said, it's the only way I can get use out of that front piece of property. Put something big enough I can have some chairs on and actually sit, rather than make it just a walkway. So, any questions?
Thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18257, Isabel Slupska, 275 Terry Road, Smithtown. Bless you. The location of the property, the east side of Terry Road, 351 feet south of Sycamore Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard from 12 feet to 8 feet, to reduce total side yards from 28 feet to 22 feet, for a proposed 704 square foot garage addition with a 704 square foot second floor addition and a 480 square foot first floor addition.
Is Isabella here?
With the guy that went outside?
I don't know. I'm sorry?
He's talking outside there?
Oh. Well, John's- And the case is closed. Just a joke.
Okay. As long as approved.
Good evening. My name is Wojtek Slupski. I'm living on 275 Terry Road, Smithtown.
Would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
Yes, please. My professional engineer is over here. He's going to explain to what I try to do with
Okay.
my additional houses.
Thank you.
They don't have the cards or anything.
Oh, do you have the cards?
Good evening, everyone.
Certificate of
Business card?
post?
Oh, the affidavits. I believe the owner delivered them this morning to the town, but I spoke with her earlier. No, they're right here.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Could you state your name, spell your last name, and give the address for the record, please?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Tomas Bona. I'm an architect. And my last name Bona, B, like Barbara, B-O-N-A. A little Italian, I think.
You could take that microphone out. You can pull it right out. Might be
It's
easier
gonna be
for
much
you.
better.
There you go.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's 26 4th Street. Number 4, 4th Street in Wood Ridge. It's in New Jersey, Bergen County, New Jersey. I'm here representing the owner of this property, and my associate, Mr. Gurdak, who is a licensed architect in New York. We work together. Couldn't be here tonight, so I'm representing him. His last name is spelled Gurdak, G-U-R-D-A-K. The property in question, 275 Terry, is a single-family house. It currently has 3 bedrooms, and it does not have a garage. There's a little bit of constraints existing on the property. It has a steady incline towards the back, and although it's a very good sized property for the for this particular zone, we're only required to have 10,000 square feet. The property is almost 25,000 square feet. Because of its kind of width, it's very long, but it's sort of narrow. So that constrains what the owner would like to do, expanding this a little bit farther. And that particular condition with the proportions of the property itself creates a variance for us in our plan to expand the house towards the left and towards the right, towards the side yards. This building, this property currently doesn't have any garage, attached garage. It is a bi-level, split-level building, so it has a lower level which the owner occupies as a habitable space. Also, it has 3 bedrooms, small bedrooms, on the upper split level, and then the main living area is located at the main level at the grade elevation. The objective of the project is to add on to the building on the left, on the north side, and also on the south side. The north side addition, as everyone can see on the rendering in the upper left corner here, is intended to add 2-car garage at the grade level, and then expand the bedrooms and add a master suite on the upper split level. And the problem with us meeting the requirements of the side yard, of the north side yard, is the fact that the existing space is a habitable space, and to fit the 2-car garage that my client is after, we're creating, because of the width of the property, we're creating an issue with the side yard setback variance. The required setback is 12 feet, and the front corner, we're going to come within about 8 feet off the property line. And because the property is slightly skewed, while the house addition remains rectilinear, the non-conforming, the variance condition that we're creating in the front actually disappears as you look along the line. In the back corner of the house, we're actually coming back towards the 12-foot side yard. So really that corner here in the front, because of how close the house is to the north property line, was problematic for us in achieving the 2-car garage that the client wished to construct. On the other side, on the south side, the adjacent neighbor's property is the much higher elevation. Everyone can see on the site plan there's a set of gradual retaining walls, which is also visible on the photos that were provided by the owner, and that house is located much higher. And on the south side, the owner would like to expand their living area, and thus we're proposing the addition that also comes in proximity of the side yard setback, but we're only encroaching into the required side yard setback is 16 feet. And again, one of the corners of the addition is slightly closer to the property line, about 14.5 feet. That's also creating a variance. The front house is in line with the existing structure. We're required to have a 40 feet front yard. However, the building is much farther away. It's about 77 feet away from the front property line, and then we have an excessive amount of area in the back. It's a very long property, so there were no issues in the back. The sheet A002 shows the garage, shows the existing and narrow habitable space that's only about 15 feet wide. Even if we try to convert that area in a garage, we really would not be successful. There is a set of stairs going up and down. We looked into that option, but unfortunately that would compromise too much of the existing space that the owner is occupying at the lower split level. Sheet A003 shows the front elevation of the house, and also it shows the upper living area and the upper split level, which features 4 bedrooms. So we're converting some of the bedrooms into a little larger ones, and then we're proposing to introduce the new master suite with a dedicated bathroom. And then on the south side, that area of the building is the expanded living area. So the client gets a little bit more formal dining room, and also a living room in the front of the house. So we believe that we're observing the maximum building height, and we believe that with the site constraints, we're proposing a massing of the building that it's not detrimental to the neighborhood. Many surrounding properties have the same proportions and volume and sizes. Actually, the gross coverage, we're only approximating 12%, where 30% is allowed, so the house is 3,000 square foot total of habitable space. We could technically go up to 7,500, so we think that this is a modest residence for this size of the property and the neighborhood. And unfortunately, because the property is skewed and the house is not perpendicular to the property lines, that's resulting in those side yard variances that I described at the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No. Planning?
No, thank you.
No. Anyone in the audience would like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pico?
And that concludes our hearing for tonight.